afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtsters, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the Blurt.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal people of Yuggera land, as well as the Woiwurrung people of the Wurundjeri land. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place, and acknowledge that they never ceded sovereignty. We respect all Turrbal and Woiwurrung elders and ancestors, and any First Nations people here today.
Good evening. You are with the Kickstart from the new Blurt. I'm the host of the new Blurt, and tonight, coming to you from Wurundjeri country, Kulin Nation of the Woiwurrung people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been, and always will be Aboriginal land. Tonight's show is a bit of a special show, a new sort of segment, Blurt on Society. We'll delve a little bit into things that I think everyone in society feels and experiences, but many at times don't talk about. So we've got Mark Pacitti joining us from Dancing with the Black Dog, isitok.org. And we will get on to that after I have a bit of a chat with our co-host. And I'm going to bring him in a little bit early this week because of the fact that we have Mark. So just give me a second. It's something I must do each week. It's very important. I can't forget it. Our co-host, Wetsy. So, any of those bits of asteroid behind you, have they been smashed by NASA, or what's going on? Is that what those pictures are? Is that what those pictures are?
Yes, it is. It is a bit of the asteroid. I picked some up that landed on Earth this morning. So I put it in the background. So that's why they're there. So
nice.
Yes, you know my love of science is pretty big on this show, and we did talk about it last week.
We did.
And, well, yes, I brought it up, and I watched it live on the YouTubes this morning, and brought my wife and my the son who was awake at the time because the other one was still sleeping. So all three of us watched it. Glued to the.
Did you get the popcorn out? Sort of,
Oh, I should have.
What time was that? What time did it start
9? It was about 9:14, 9:15 when it hit our time.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so it was good. It was a good time of day, not 3 or 4 in the morning like other missions from NASA that occur in other missions. So yeah.
And was it successful? Because unlike you, I sort of didn't get up and watch it. So
Right.
I think I did send the link in a group chat though.
Yeah. So in the sense of did it hit the target? Yes. Obviously now there's like I mentioned last week, there's lots of telescopes, ground-based telescopes here on Earth that are now studying the trajectory of that asteroid, and they're going to see if it made any difference to its trajectory after being hit. So there's a prediction it might make a small change in its orbit, but I guess time will tell. I don't know how soon they'll release the information, but like I said, in terms of hitting the target, it hit the bullseye pretty much. So yeah, it's good.
Oh, well, that's good. Actually, sort of staying on the universal theme, as it were, I saw something the other week because I know we did a show a few weeks ago on the Webb telescope.
Mm.
And I can't remember what you were talking about the Webb telescope in particular. But what I did see is 3 different pictures. I think one was by the Voyager, I think in 1989 or something.
Mm.
One was by the Hubble, I think in 2011 or something.
Yeah.
And then one was by the new Webb telescope. And it was a picture of Neptune, I believe.
I think it was Neptune, yes.
Yeah, and that was phenomenal. That was unbelievable. I showed the whole family. We got popcorn out. That was phenomenal.
It's amazing the technology difference in the last 30, 40 years. That's for sure.
It was, yeah. I couldn't believe it. I mean, they could see like sort of ice inside the inside the planet from the from the telescope. But yeah, it was fascinating.
And the rings were clearer than previously imaged. from here. So yeah, it was, I think they say it was almost as clear as it was as when Voyager was nearby.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. But the interesting thing was, I think I also read somewhere they said that they weren't surprised at all by what they found because they built the thing to do exactly what it did. I was like,
exactly.
well, I just thought, well, you'd be slightly more humble than that. I mean, seriously, I'm really sure a scientist and everything, but I mean, you can be a little bit surprised. Oh, actually, no, it works better than we thought it would.
Yeah.
Would just like to know that they're slightly human as well. Actually, talking things that aren't slightly they probably are human. I think they are human, but they probably have a lot of bots involved. The Optus hack.
Oh, don't get me started on that one.
Are you with Optus?
I was with Optus until earlier this year, but I still have an account that is open with them. And obviously, from what we've heard, that it's affected customers even if they didn't have an account. So even if we had closed the account earlier this year, we still would have been affected. And I did get an email from Optus earlier this week saying that I wasn't that my account was compromised. So it's oh dear. So now I'm just trying to work out what do we need to do and what do we need to change. So yeah.
Well, I heard today that apparently 9.8 million people were affected, but 2.8 million of those were affected really, really badly.
Yeah, with most of the data.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Optus, as magnanimous as they are, has said that they're happy to fund a identity monitoring system at their home, funded by Optus. I'm like, thanks. That's I think the least you could do.
Exactly. What's happened, and it was all because. And it was all because of some lax API that was released or something to that effect.
Oh, you're kidding, aren't you?
Yeah.
It wasn't authenticated correctly.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know the details, but it had to do with an API call. It was, or some vulnerability in API that hadn't been patched. So
why though? Well, they've got this whole thing at Optus. You meant to say yes. So I imagine that the person was, should we release this API? It hasn't been fully tested yet. It hasn't gone through the pipeline, and we're not sure if it's encrypted properly, and the authentication, we're not 100%. Yes,
just do it.
Yes,
just do it. And now we suffer the consequences.
Yes, no, we do. It's not good. It's particularly terrible, actually.
And the government now is going to introduce some new changes. Apparently, I don't know what they are yet. Don't know if they've released it.
Well, I believe now they actually have a ministry, or I'm not sure. Well, I don't know if it's called Ministry for Cyber Attack, but I think they've actually got a proper ministry, specifically for cyber attacks. I don't know exactly what it's called.
Yeah, maybe it's part of that Home Affairs. Is that part of Home Affairs? No.
I'm pretty sure it's its own. It's definitely not Home Affairs. Well, at least I don't think it is, but maybe you're right. But I heard Claire O'Neill, Minister O'Neill, talking about it tonight, and she's not very happy with Optus at all, which I'm sure lots of other people aren't either. So
9.8 million people can't be wrong.
That's exactly right. And talking about people that aren't happy, I'm sure many Swan supporters would not be very happy. So,
not with that thrashing.
No, absolutely.
But, and for those wondering what we're talking about, of course.
Oh, yes, we need to discuss that each time, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's the AFL Grand Final, of course. That was played last Saturday.
Yes.
So yes, I was rooting for the Swannies because I'm not a fan of Geelong. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I did mention that.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of Geelong.
No.
Even though I'm a Melbourne boy.
Yes. Well, for me, the only thing better than winning a grand final is watching the team that you really wished and didn't think should be there get completely annihilated. So, that's the only thing better than that. So, I sort of just kept switching on going, yes, get a kill, get a kill. But the beautiful thing was now, I mean, because as you know, you're a Collingwood supporter, I'm a Collingwood supporter, tragics that we are, you go through the city and nothing. No flags, nothing.
Wow.
You wouldn't even know that there was a grand final just played. You wouldn't have a clue.
Wow. So they just really cleaned it up real quick straight after the finals.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's like it never even happened.
Wow. And what did you think about the AFL parade on the river instead of through the streets like they usually do?
Oh, is that what they did? I didn't even know they did that.
That's right. Because you went away on the Friday. You didn't go to the AFL parade.
No. I would never care about that parade unless Collingwood's in it.
True.
In fact, to be honest with you, as soon as we're not there, I just ignore the whole thing. I just go, "What's happening?" I don't know. I'm going to go next weekend.
Football? What's football?
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, I'm a bit of a not a sore loser, but I'm a sore not get inner.
Yeah. Apathetic when Collingwood's not in there.
Yes. Yes. Well, maybe just pathetic. I don't know. But someone who definitely is not pathetic is our illustrious guest, Mark Pacitti. We would like to bring him in. So I'm just going to do a quick word from the sponsor, and then we'll be back with Blurt on Society with Mark Pacitti from Dancing with the Black Dog. So stick around.
The Australia Institute produces high-quality research that has real-world impact, whether it's revealing the $10.3 billion in fossil fuel subsidies provided by federal and state governments last year, or our long-standing research advocating for a federal anti-corruption commission with real teeth. We change minds. To donate, head on over to australiainstitute.org.au.
Blurt on Society.
Okay. All right. Before I introduce you to our next guest, I want to say that tonight we'll be talking about some topics that might be triggering for some people. If you are struggling with these topics, there are many services out there that can help, such as Lifeline on 13 11 44. I remember one day at work back in Melbourne 10, 12 years ago. A bloke stood up in front of all of us who were in the office at the time in, I think it was Port Melbourne. I might be corrected when we have our guest on. But he started talking about a personal journey he was on at the time, a journey that many people, especially us men, don't often talk about. And I come from a Latin American background where men never talk about their feelings. Yet this man I was listening to was talking about his journey with anxiety and depression, and what he was doing all about those feelings and his journey. He said he was writing a blog about that journey, and he told us some stories and other things. And this bloke that I'm talking about is none other than Mark Pacitti, founder of Dancing with the Black Dog. And so without further ado, please welcome Mark Pacitti. Welcome, Mark.
Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, gentlemen. What a great introduction. Thank you.
No worries. I hope I got all that information right, because it is a long time ago. My memory is not the best at times, but I do remember you standing up there. I think it was Port Melbourne in our office there.
Yeah.
And what looked like a warehouse.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great little location, and
yeah.
We didn't work together in the same projects, but we were always in the same office.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember that story and how you started. So, and yeah, mental health is a big issue for me. I've gone through it for many reasons in the past, and I've seen it in other people and things like that. So that's why we were so keen to get you on as a guest, because I know your story, and we wanted to bring that to our audience and things like that. So so thank you for coming on board.
Thank you. Very grateful for the opportunity. I was actually marking you as you went along there for all the facts about my introduction. 10 out of 10 wins.
Awesome. Still got it sometimes.
A+.
Excellent. So if you can tell us, how did you know that you were suffering from anxiety and depression, and what got you started on this journey to beat it, I guess?
That, I hate to sound cliched, that's a great question. I can remember in hindsight now, looking back, that even as a relatively young kid, I used to over worry and get anxious about things. But because it wasn't something, like you say, it wasn't something people generally spoke about, especially certainly not children as well back in those days. I just thought that was normal. I didn't. I just thought that, you know, that, and I used to suffer from bouts of, you know, that I would worry about things at work or something happening in my personal life, and sometimes this worry would go on for weeks, and then it'd be a case of, if I can just get past this worry, it'll all be good. There'll be no more worrying, and then somebody else would come up, and then about 13 years ago now, it was 12 years ago, 2010. It got to the point where there was so many things in life, pressures in life, and I wasn't sleeping well and some of the worries that I had lasted for months. Like, you know, it was like worrying on steroids. And that's when I just thought, there's going to be a better way of living than this. And there's actually, I had contemplated asking the doctor for antidepressants. I'd contemplated asking to get referred to a psychologist, but I felt if I did those things, I could never change. No, you're marked for life. You've spoken to a psychologist. You've been on antidepressants. But it got to the point where it was like, I'll do anything to stop feeling this way. And my wife one night suggested I speak to one of her friends who'd been through a similar situation, and then we all agreed pretty much, that it was, I needed to go and get some professional help. So it was realizing I could have probably gone on for life if it had been the occasional worry that comes up and then goes away. And I still get that. Yeah, I think we all do. We all get worries about life, but I realise now that that's just a black dog, and, you know, he's more of a whimper now than a growl. But yeah, so it was. I think the best analogy that I've used a number of times is, have you heard of the analogy of boiling the frog?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what it was like for me. You know, you put the frog in a pot of boiling water, leaps to safety. Put a frog in a pot of cold water, slowly turn up the heat, and it'll boil to death. I fortunately for me, on the subject of suicide, I was fortunate in the sense that I never contemplated suicide. However, when I was at my very worst, I'm not ashamed to say that I felt I was of more value to my then young family if I was dead than alive. That's how bad I got.
There was a tipping point there where one of your sons said something to you. Yes. That made you realise I'm better off staying with my family.
You have read my blog. I refer back, if I'm thank you. Yeah, that was definitely. So what happened was I was taking some time off work where you and I were working together, and I was put on antidepressants, and I had a few weeks off. And in the middle of those few weeks, the doctor had said to me, "Might actually get worse." I thought, I can't get worse than I am just now, but I did. I got a lot worse. And then what I used to do at the weekends, you know, my wife was working full time. She runs her own business, and we had these two kids that were 4 and 1. So she was having to deal with that and me being off work. So what I used to do was I would, on the weekends, one of the things that I would do to try and help her out was I would just take the kids to the supermarket and just do the shopping. You know, I felt like I was doing something to contribute to the house and getting the kids out of her hair for an hour or so. And I was sitting in the car on the way back, set of traffic lights, and I looked at my then 4-year-old son in the rearview mirror, and I just said to him, "Jack, I'm sorry that I'm being such a crap dad right now." And this little 4-year-old looked at me right in the eye and through the rearview mirror, and he said emphatically, "No way, Dad, you're the bestest dad ever in the entire universe." And I thought, you might think any kid would say that about their father, but he said it so emphatically that it was also like he was looking at the black dog and saying, "Don't you dare say that about my dad." And that was the moment I realised I was of immeasurable value to my wife and my young sons just by turning up.
Yeah.
Just that term, Mark, dancing with the black dog, and the black dog in reference to that. Is that a historical sort of euphemism, or?
A lot of people, and as I once did, a lot of people thought that it was that Winston Churchill invented it, but I believe he just popularized it because he was living in an age where television and radio was coming to the fold. But I think it's actually been referred to even in Latin text as far back as the Roman times.
All right.
It generally refers to the black dog, black cloud, anxiety of depression.
Yes, I've heard the black cloud, but I haven't heard.
But anxiety and depression really go hand in hand. Yeah, and the reason why I call, a lot of people ask me as well, why dancing with the black dog. I've got 2 left feet when it comes to dancing, so it's not nothing like that. But I also love the movie Zoolander.
Oh, yeah.
and I wanted when I started writing the blog, I wanted to catch a title for the blog, and I felt that after the medication started to kick in, my antidepressants, the black dog was still barking for a few weeks still, but the bark was getting less and less, and it felt like a dance off with the black dog. Yeah. And I've always tried to use, be a bit lighthearted about life, and I'm renowned for my terrible dad jokes, but it was always, it's always about just a bit of a kind of, some people when they hear about the name, they say, I don't feel like dancing, and it's like, well, that doesn't matter. That's what it meant. It came from. It sounded catchy, dancing with the black dog, and it meant. And to me, it was like it was a dance off that I was not going to lose.
There, I think, isn't there a Black Dog Institute in the UK as well? Do you have affiliations with them? Do you work with them as well,
I'm not affiliated with them. But it's a Black Dog Institute it's actually in, I think, New South Wales.
Oh, is it?
Is it?
They do. They're more. I think they do a lot of research and publish findings, etc., and fund programs.
Yeah.
But we're aware of each other. Like they did actually contact me once because some people were getting confused between my charity, which is very, very small compared to theirs, and just asked me. There was no stop using that. They didn't once say stop using that name. They said, "Oh, we love what you're doing, but when you're doing any promotional materials, could you please just mention that you're not affiliated with the Black Dog Institute?"
Yeah, fair enough.
But again, there's a lot of there's quite a few people. There's a lot of organisations and people that will use the term black dog referring to depression. So I guess it's while there's similar names, they do get confused. It's the same way as people make it confused between Shell and BP. Okay, that's not a good analogy, but
no, because we're dead against them on this show.
So you started off as a blog. How did you then convert it or decide to go down the charity path?
Well, so the reason why I started the blog in the first place was I've always, I guess I wore my heart on my sleeve, being very honest about things. And I decided that when I got into a better place, I would start writing my story, sharing it online so that anybody could go and read it. And there was no, you don't have to sign up. You don't have, there's no need to give your email address or anything. The story's just there. And I really enjoyed doing that for a number of years, just sharing my story, not just about how bad I once was, but also what I went through to get better. And then it was more, I guess, reflections and observations on various aspects of mental illness once I was in a better place as well. And then about 7 years ago, I was sitting at a friend's house at a barbecue, and I looked out and I had the Black Dog logo that you can see on my T-shirt, if you can see through it, and also
Yes.
which is in your background as well. I had that made up to be associated with the blog. It was the marketing director at our former employer that gave me that idea, Wentz.
Okay. Awesome.
To come up with a logo for a visual representation. And at the time, I remember thinking, where am I going with this? And I looked at the logo and I thought, there's no such, bear in mind, this was 7 years ago. Things have changed since then. There's no symbol or logo that people can wear or display every day that's not too in your face about mental health. It also says, it conveys the message, it's okay to say if you don't feel okay. It's not labeling yourself as saying, I suffer from anxiety or depression. It's labeling yourself as a supporter of somebody who's suffering from anxiety or depression. And I thought, that doesn't exist just now. And then I decided to, so then I thought, I'm going to try and do something with this. So then I wanted to start selling merchandise online, just to raise funds to further generate awareness of the message.
People walking around with your design, definitely awareness.
But it was also very important to me that I registered it as a charity, so that I cannot make any money from it for myself. So if it was a company and I was saying, if it was a business and I was saying I'll donate some proceeds to charity, then I'd be making some for myself. But I decided that I didn't want to ever make a single cent from it. And then over the last 5 years, through the power of social media and Facebook advertising, spent a lot of money on Facebook advertising. But I don't look at it as advertising. I look at it as awareness raising. And then, over the last 5 years, I've now sold about, over 100,000 pieces of merchandise through the website, mainly across Australia and the UK.
You've got. I was having a look at your merchandise actually. I mean, just on a purely quite a cool thing to wear. It's I mean, absolutely. It's designed pretty well. You've got the beanies out there with the Black Dog logo. That looks pretty cool, and the caps as well. And I do like the fact that it's pretty cool merchandise. But obviously, if you walk in the street or something with that on your head or on your body or whatever, and then someone sees that and they may have seen that somewhere else or whatever, and then that strikes out another conversation. So I think it's a really good idea, and it also the fact that it's half decent stuff to wear as well. That always
thank you. The other benefit, thank you very much for saying that as well. But the other benefit as well, as I found, is that some people have said to me on, you always get critics as well on, say, social media, like not through my personal page, through the charities page, that say, never heard of it before. And there's two things I think of that. First of all, I think, well, you have now. Soon as you see the ad. And the other thing is, a lot of people actually have contacted me to say, I bought some of the merchandise, and somebody came and asked me what it was about. So I told them, and that sparked a conversation. So it's not, while the Black Dog as a name, as a euphemism, is quite widely known, this logo is not widely known. Well, it's fairly widely known, but it's not, it's not as recognizable as, say, the Nike swoosh or something like that. And maybe one day it will be, but in the meantime, if people wearing it know that people can ask them questions about it.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
100,000 people know about it. So
yes, exactly. Yeah,
and it's always word of mouth, isn't it? Once that 100,000 people know, they'll talk about it with other people, and hopefully be on the lookout for their friends and family to say, "Hey, are you okay?" And I guess Are You Okay the organisation already set up by the time you'd set up as a charity? Or?
Funnily enough, I didn't know about it until I started my blog. And then I think it was the second annual Are You OK Day when our former marketing director friend a gentleman by the name of Iggy. He actually was the one that encouraged me to launch the blog on Are You OK Day, not the charity itself.
Right.
Yeah. And like one of the great things as well is, Are You OK Day, great initiative. There's a lot of other mental health initiatives out there as well now. I think Are You OK is probably the most known one. But what's really important to me as well is that I don't see other charities in any other industry. You would say we're in competition with each other.
Yeah.
But I've had people come to me and offer me, more people through my network that have come to me and said, "Oh, I want you to come in and talk to our staff, and we'll pay you." And I said, "Look, I'm happy to come in and talk to your staff, but what do you actually want out of it?" And there's a couple of people actually that said to me to explain what they want. I said, "Well, you're actually better off spending that money on mental health first aid course through Mental Health First Aid Australia. I'll still come in and talk to your staff, but I'm lucky that I don't need, I don't rely on generating money from going and doing
it's a pure charity.
So I said, spend the money where you'll get the benefit from it. So I don't see it as, it's not while all these charities, including my own, want to succeed, I think we need to remember what we're all trying to achieve: eradicating the stigma of mental illness.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how in one of your posts you talk about one way of doing that is changing the name antidepressant.
Yes.
To a different name, because that just makes
serotonin boosters. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
You're friends.
There you go.
Yes. Absolutely.
You're talking about accentuate the positive, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes,
so rather than demonizing and because that stigma's just hard to get rid of, isn't it?
Language.
You must be bad.
Yeah. But what would you rather see? I would rather, if there's a stigma, nobody likes saying, and by the way, I'm still on antidepressants after 12 years, but I've been, some people said to me when I first started the blog, "Oh, it's very brave of you." I was like, yeah, but I started it when I was in a good place. Whereas people that actually come out and talk about their story while they're still in a bad place, that's the ones that are brave. But I guess the point, back to your point though, Wentz, one of my realizations was that people are more likely to be happy to say, "Oh, I'm on medication, serotonin boosters," as opposed to antidepressants. Yeah, or whatever. I mean, I know like some people could turn around and say it doesn't boost serotonin, it stabilizes it. Okay, serotonin stabilizers, anything that's positive.
Yeah.
Positive pills.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
That's the one. Yeah, sold.
Yeah. I think they used to call them happy pills, weren't they? At one point, I remember hearing it when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, there was always people used to say that. It was all I remember when people would say that, but it was almost a kind of bit of a tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
He's on the happy pills as opposed to I'm on the happy pills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, how do you think we can get rid of the stigma of having sort of a mental health condition in that, or even talking about, medication for mental health? I mean, as you were just alluding to then, it seems to be a conversation that if you do sort of bring it up, you don't really even hear people bring it up in sort of public discourse, as it were. How do you think you sort of break those barriers down so that we are talking about this more?
Again, fantastic question. I have to preface this answer by saying it's really important to point out that I am not a mental health professional. However, I do have a strong, in my humble opinion, the answer to your question is I feel it's a generational thing. And I feel that if we, it wasn't that long ago, it was illegal to be gay. And now it's widely accepted. People are like, even young kids get told, "Oh no, well these we've got gay friends and they come around for dinner." It's like, "Oh yeah, James and his partner are coming around or whatever." It's just matter of fact.
Yes,
I
and
think it's the same thing with mental illness. I reckon that people of our age, maybe people in their 20s or even in their 20s and above, they've probably lived with so many years of conditioned by the stigma. I think the way we can eradicate the stigma is by focusing on educating our children that it's okay to say if you don't feel okay. My own sons, they're 16 and 13 now. They've known what this is about, and they know it's okay to say, etc. And a couple of times, one of my kids was worried about a few things, and then he opened up to me, and I said, that's an example of what it's okay to say. But he didn't put two and two together. He knew what I did, but he was so focused on, I feel wrong, I feel terrible, I feel worried about this. This can't be right, and it's like that's an example. So I think if we educate them at a young age and we show them, talk about their feelings, and we show them the other thing as well is that I think we live in. This is my psychologist actually said to me once that we live in an age even now compared to say 20, 30 years ago where there are so many more tools in the mental health toolbox. It's a shame to not access them. And they're only going to get better. Like I know that in the last decade or so, there's been medicinal advances where there's now, I think there's like blood tests and brain scans that can help doctors better predict how individuals might respond to certain medications, as opposed to, Prozac, try this. If it doesn't work, come back and try paroxetine. It's getting better, and I would like to think that in another generation's time, it'll be as treatable as accurately as a lot of other illnesses.
Let's hope so. And I guess the other part is we need government funding to have more professionals out there as well. Yes. Obviously, with COVID, that has not helped with the wait times for people seeking professional help. Psychiatrists wait lists are now 6 months or more in many places. Psychologists, I think, is 3 months or more. They're a bit easy to get into, but still difficult. So we need more people coming into the profession as well.
Yeah, I think that's again a good point you raised there, Wentz. I think it's a double whammy. People are more people have been more in need of mental health counselling because of COVID, and at the same time the stigma is not as strong as it once was. So I think these psychologists and psychiatrists I think have been overwhelmed because of that. No, it's something that needs to get fixed, and hopefully it will happen soon. But it's hard. It's got a long lead time, I guess, to train up those people and get them in the field. And while it has been, sorry, go for it. While the stigma has been eroded, I don't think it's been eradicated yet. No. Like there are I'll see some people sometimes get comments on my social media pages to say, some people might say, I don't think there's a stigma anymore. And it's like, but that's you. I also get contacted by people who are afraid to speak, and they might message me and say, I need help. And some people will open up to me, strangers, through messaging me on social media, and then it's like, well, I'm actually not qualified to help you, but here's a number, go and call them, and then come back and let me know how you go. I can't. I would be doing them and a disservice to try and offer them professional advice.
And a lot of the services that we've got on our ticker underneath there, Lifeline and all that, some of them have free services, or just a phone call away to talk to someone, a counsellor. So, which is a great start, which is why donating money to those charities is so important as well. So there's a lot of resources out there now, which is great.
I did a push-up challenge last year. I had to do about 3,200 push-ups, in 20 days or something. And that was for Lifeline. So I was able to donate about $700 to Lifeline. So that was pretty good.
Fantastic.
And
all those numbers that you got flashing across the screen, and by the way, kudos to you for sharing them. Now, I worked briefly for one of those organisations, and one of the things that I learned while I was there was that probably the majority of calls that these organisations get are actually not from people that are in a bad place themselves, but people who've got friends or family or loved ones in a bad place. And I'm not sure.
Is that right? Wow.
So there's no reason why, if you've got a friend or family member, and if you can't encourage them to call the line, you can call the line yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought
I didn't.
I would have imagined it was like 90% or more would have been, or if not 100%, would have been people who are suffering.
And I think if it, if looking for the outcome, if someone's calling to ask for advice on how to help, you can't call, for instance, Men's Line and say, "Oh, can you call this person?" They can't do that.
No, they won't do that.
Well, not as far as I know, anyway. Last time I looked, but they're not allowed to call. But if you can't encourage them to call, then there's no harm in calling up yourself. So, I'm also pleased to say as well that one of the benefits I've raised from the selling the merchandise is I have donated over $30,000 to one of these charities as well, towards their own helpline. Rather than me going and setting up my own charity helpline, that would be a waste of money. Just thought, well, give it to an existing charity, and then to
that's amazing, Mark. That's absolutely sensational. Exactly. I just wanted to mention, we were just talking about what the government's doing from a mental health perspective, and some of the policies and plans is there's a Vision 2030, which is a national direction for successful connected mental health and suicide prevention system to meet needs of Australians. So Vision 2030 is something to look out for, to follow. National mental health policy is commitment to seek to improve the Australian mental health system. And the Wellbeing Pandemic Response Plan, again, is about mental health after the COVID-19 pandemic. And there's a National Mental Health Workforce Strategy Task Force as well. So they're taking it very, very seriously. And I think they're going to be putting quite a lot of money into it. And I think you probably know more about this than me, Mark, but NDIS, I think that has a portion of mental health sort of help and benefits as well, I think, doesn't it? I'm not sure.
I have to confess, you know more about it than me. But it wouldn't surprise me. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
I can confirm through people I know who have it, or us who are going through the process of getting it, that they do provide funding for psychologists, psychiatrists,
right,
OTs, and any service that's required for your needs. So I know they do provide it, but obviously, as long as you fit the criteria to receive funding from NDIS, then they'll provide whatever's needed.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Did you ever finish the psychology degree?
I didn't.
You didn't?
Right.
No.
But learnt enough?
I did. What I learnt was that I came when I came into a good place. I don't know what I'd written about that. Jeez.
It was 10 years ago, I guess.
I wanted to do something. I think I started that course. That's what it was. I started the course before I started the blog. I started doing a postgraduate diploma in psychology at Monash Uni. That's what it was. And I did the first semester, which was fascinating. And then, because it was all about, Pavlov's dog and all the other stuff and all these different case studies. Loved it. And then the second semester was statistics, which I'd done twice at uni in my life anyway. And by that time I started the blog, and I thought, I'm actually really enjoying spending time in the blog, and we were busy with the kids, and I was spending all this time doing this uni course, and I thought, my heart's not in that
something's
anymore.
got to give.
So I woke up one Sunday morning, but the beauty of it was, though, I woke up one Sunday morning, and rather than stewing over it for weeks, I thought, no, it's just not for me. I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. Yeah, but I still got, but I did get a lot from that first semester. I really enjoyed it.
were you in a good space at that time when you just did decide that? Because you're right, some people do stew and it's an anxious moment. I've put the money in, I put the time in, do I keep going? I don't really want to keep going, etc., etc. So were you in quite a good space when you made that decision? Because it seems like you made it quite quickly.
Yeah, I was in a great space, which is why I made the decision quickly. And I didn't feel guilty about it. Yeah. Whereas had that been 5 or 10 years prior, I was like, I started, I must finish.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not enjoying it, I must finish.
Yeah.
So I decided anyway that I wanted to focus on the blog at the time and then see where that took me. Yeah. I just wanted, the reason why I started the course was I wanted to help people.
Yes.
And I thought one way of doing that could be to actually become a psychologist.
Yes.
And I then realised that I could help people just as much, and it fitted me better by sharing my story. One of the things you might have seen in my first blog post, and a few people I've seen use this description as well, might not be able to personally change the world, but if you literally, I know from personal experience that if I can change one person's life and help them, it can change the world for them. The world was changed for me because I sought help.
Yeah. And do you continue doing do you do public speaking or anything like that to spread the word or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't I don't actively seek opportunities, but people will, like I say, I might get contacted once or twice a year. Or even this is a form of public speaking as well, like the way you reached out to me. So yeah, I do those opportunities, but I generally it's generally around this time of year because it's mental health season almost. You would say it starts off with "Are You Okay Day" and goes right into October being there's World Mental Health Day, there's Mental Health Awareness Week. There's all these different days now, and they generally fall around this time of year.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that this was the season for it.
Yeah, I've never described it that way before, but that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, there are some. I think there's some. Somebody once put this post on Facebook. Well, I think I put something up about World Mental Health Day, and somebody said, "Oh my God, there's some kind of event for mental health every second week these days." And I thought, compared to where we were 15 years ago, that's bloody brilliant. It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. You're right, because the more and more you talk about it, the more and more people that do just sort of struggle with it can come out and talk about it. So absolutely.
Like I mentioned in the intro, that's not something I'm familiar with because my father was very closed with his feelings, and many of his generation, people that I grew up with, the adults at the time when I was a kid, they never spoke about their feelings, which we do a lot more now, which is a big improvement, and that's only in a short amount of time of 20, 30 years.
Yeah. So say, where will we be in another 20 or 30 years when we've educated the current generation's young children? It's okay to say we don't feel okay from an early age.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think as I was just reading before, I think if you've got a federal lens on it and a state lens on it, in each state, and then a council lens, etc., I think it can only improve. I don't think there's any other way. But one thing, what piece of advice would you give to anyone that is struggling to call those lines, to read your blog first to sort of get yourself in a good space, or what would you sort of what would be your advice?
Yeah, I've got a very, very clear. I've been asked that question a number of times, and to me, again, I want to preface this again by saying I'm not a mental health professional.
Yes.
Counselling through a psychologist and medication, that's what worked for me. I'm not saying that'll work for everybody.
Exactly.
There are so many options out there, so many possible treatments these days. Take action. Take some kind of action, whether it's picking up the phone and calling Days Beyond Blue, going across the bottom, or Lifeline, or whether it's going and seeing your GP and asking for a referral to a psychologist. If you don't do that, then nothing's going to change. You just get worse. If you do it, it might what you do might not work first time, but take action and believe. I firmly believe that the answer for everyone's mental illness conditions is out there somewhere. In some cases, it might not be discovered yet, but there's so many different things you can. There's like cognitive behavioral therapy. I've never tried that, but I know some people that swear by it.
Yeah.
There's various herbal remedies, St. John's wort, etc. That like you can buy in a chemist. But again, you've got to get even things you can buy off the shelf in the chemist. Some of them come with a warning. Make sure that you speak to the pharmacist first.
Yeah.
But taking action is what could and hopefully will lead to a result. Not taking action just can't lead to that result. So that's my advice. Take action.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically like if you're riding up a hill on a bike and you stop riding.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not going to get fast. That's right.
No, you're going to go backwards.
Yeah,
very fast.
I'll go backwards.
And probably crash.
That's a great analogy because it can be an uphill battle. And the hill might get steeper, but it doesn't. I can honestly say that I didn't realize it was possible to think as clearly as I was and to be as confident as I'd like to think it's confidence with a sense of humility. So I'm not overconfident, but I didn't realize it was possible to feel those ways until one day I woke up and it was like, the world just seems a bit different. It was like one of my favorite lines from one of my idols from childhood, Billy Connolly. I'm sure you've heard of him, and he actually wasn't one of his jokes, but he said he used to be a terrible snorer, and then he started using a CPAP machine, and he said you don't realize how badly you've been sleeping till you have your first good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And I was the same when it came to just enjoying life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about being overconfident. It's about being confident in yourself, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and not being afraid to talk to someone. So, like you already mentioned, seek counselling, but sometimes just talk to your best mate. Yeah, is enough. It might be enough to alleviate.
And also a good point you raised there as well. I think Wentz was that sometimes I still have bad days as well. When I say that I beat anxiety and depression, it still comes back a little bit, but I know that I've got the tools to beat it now. The tools to tame it. So it will be a lifelong battle, but it's and those bad days are the ones that make you realize you're still human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as long as you've got the support around you, that's great.
Yes.
Mark, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the show tonight. Wednesday and I have absolutely enjoyed it. Just a couple of things just before you go. One, how did Stephen Fry get hold of your blog sort of thing? How did that come about? He's a huge hero of mine. So
it was more I got hold of him through persistence.
Right, okay.
Well, I was trying to catch his attention on Twitter because the person that put me onto Twitter was also a former colleague of Wentz and mine. And he said, Stephen Fry, he's huge on Twitter. And I had no idea. Then I started reading about how Stephen Fry sent things viral on Twitter. So I was trying to catch his attention. And then one day I've just happened to stumble across this website, and it was Stephen Fry was auctioning. So there was a number of comedians that were auctioning tweets for comic relief.
Yes,
and it was like $100 a ticket or something. So I thought, great, I'll just go and buy them all, and I'll ask him to tweet about this charity. And then I was about to buy some, and then it said, you must live in the UK. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to email them, and I sent, I put together the email about the blog, and in the subject, I put the subject was $1,000 donation to comic relief. For a tweet about this blog. So that got their attention, that got his team. They then replied back saying, look, he's happy to do it, but you don't have to make a donation. I explained to them that I had tried to buy some. But then the funny thing was, I thought I need to make him remember me. So he personally sends the tweets, but I decided that I wanted to send him something as a thank you that he wouldn't have. and I was in Dan Murphy's thinking, I'll buy him a really nice bottle of scotch. And I thought, he'll have nice bottles of scotch. And I came across the Black Douglas, which is a really cheap one. So I sent him a bottle of the Black Douglas scotch, and he remembered me, and that's how I was able to follow up again, over like not harassing him, but over the next three. He's actually did 3 tweets about the two about the blog, one about the charity. Yeah. Yes. So that's how I got him. So he'll be aware of what I've done, and he's probably read a bit of the blog. But has there been any personal contact between me and him? I have to be honest and say no.
Yeah. That's fine.
Well, anyway, that's a good coup on Twitter. Love Stephen Fry. So, just before you go tonight, straight after this, we're going to go into Joke of the Week, just to get a bit of brevity into the show just before we go, sort of thing. So, what makes you laugh more daily?
I'm going to be really corny here. My wife.
Yeah.
She makes me laugh, and I make her laugh.
Is she Scottish?
No, she's not. She's from Mount Eliza. That's like my wife and I. We don't have something in common. Like we don't play tennis or go bowling or anything like that. What we have in common is we make each other laugh.
Yeah, awesome.
Every day. Yeah. I do enjoy watching a good sitcom or whatever, and I enjoy watching stand-up comedy. But the main thing that makes me laugh is my wife, and that we are just so in tune with each other in our sense of humour.
Yeah. So you tell jokes to each other and things like that, or is it just the daily stuff?
It's just the daily. It's just
general sense of humour.
Yeah. Being able to poke fun at life. Yeah.
Nice. It's a good way to be.
Nice.
It's the best form of self. If you're going to, and it's the best form. It was my form of self-medication for many years. Thank God. Exercising and comedy were my self-medication. I say that because I know some people that turn to the bottle for self-medication, and that can be a long way back.
It is, can be.
Yeah. So I love the fact you asked that question. Thank you.
Well, it's been great having you on. It's been a lot of fun, and we really appreciate your time. And
thank you both. Thank you both for having me. Always happy to come back anytime.
Awesome.
Oh, it was really lovely, Mark, and we look forward to having you back at another time. And I look forward to reading the other 27 chapters of the blog.
You should write a book.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Are you going to write a book?
I've tried doing that a few times, but I think maybe one day I will. But there's too many other things going on in life just now. So,
it's the priority thing, isn't it? It's like, what comes first? What should I do? Yep.
Yes.
All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you again. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
See you, Mark. Bye.
Take care. See you, mate.
We're just going to have a quick break, and we'll be back with Joke of the Week.
Hey, this is Hannah Melville Ray from the Australia Institute. I'm listening to the new Blurt with Wency and the Kexta, and you should be too. It's on Tuesday nights, live from around 8 p.m.
My brother-in-law was addicted to the hokey pokey. It was a rough couple of years, but he turned himself around.
Joke of the Week.
So, if you didn't hear that joke of the week, it was my brother-in-law is addicted to the hokey pokey, and he's had a rough couple of years, but he's been able to turn it around. So, I'm sorry, but that's
terrible.
That's well, you can have one of those.
Thank you.
Great work getting Mark on the show, Wency.
That's all right.
Brilliant. Fantastic guy. Really love what he's doing with the blog, and that was amazing with the 100,000 merchandise. I had actually read that, and I definitely looked at some of the stuff, and I was like, yes, I would like to advertise. We don't like that word, but aware,
support them,
people aware. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we've got to do, don't we? Just bring the awareness of that topic to everyone, not just men. It's interesting that I did do some research, which we didn't get to talk about. But women.
We can do that. We can do that next time.
Yeah, next time. But I was looking at some stats from an Australian government survey on mental health that was done during December 2020, I think it was, and January 2021. And there were more women who suffered from mental health issues than there were of men and things like that. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
No.
I'll put the link in the show notes for the podcast. But
yeah,
I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely is. I the same as you. I would have thought the other way around. So, but that was then, and this is now. So, joke of the week is just a new little segment we're going to have. It's just going to be a little, 10-minute segment. Maybe each week, maybe every second week. Not sure. If you want to join us live any week, and you've got a joke to share, go for it. If it's not abusive or racist or whatever,
or extremely rude, it's going to be
or extremely rude. Yes, it can be a little bit. It can be a little bit rude, but can't be.
A bit risque is fine, but
exactly
not R plus.
Have you got one? Because I've got one here.
No, you go first.
All right, no worries. So there is a man in a hot air balloon who's floating through the sky, and he's got no idea where he is. So he kind of lowers the balloon, and he can see a man on the ground, and he yells out to the guy, and he says, "Hey, do you know where I am?" And the guy down below says, "Yeah, you're in a hot air balloon in the middle of the sky." And the balloon guy says, "You must be in IT." And the guy below says, "Yeah, how did you know?" He says, "Because you've told me exactly what you've told me is exactly correct, but it's of absolutely no use to anyone." And the other guy says, the guy in a balloon says, "You must be in management." And he says, "Yeah, how did you know?" "Because you're completely lost, have no idea where you're going. You expect me to help. You're in exactly the same position as you were before, but now it's my fault."
Oh dear, God, have I lived through that in my 20-odd years of IT?
Yes, I'm hearing you, bud.
Okay, I've got a short one for you.
Yeah, go for it.
What lights up a soccer
You shouldn't
stadium?
advertise that, by the way, but anyway.
No, I shouldn't. What lights up a soccer stadium?
Oh, go on.
A soccer match.
Oh, God.
Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Okay.
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Oh, God.
Oh, geez, these are terrible.
I've got a couple of shockers here. My next door neighbor just bought a couple of dogs. Their names were Rolex and Timex. They were watchdogs.
Oh, jeez. What else is there? What did the policeman say to his belly button?
Go on.
"You're under a vest."
Oh, that's not bad. I'll give you that. That's all right. You can have that. How do you identify a dogwood tree?
How do you identify what?
A dogwood tree.
No idea.
By spark.
Oh, of course. Okay. Why are there gates around cemeteries? This is an oldie.
Oh, go on.
Because people are dying to get in.
Oh, that's How do astronomers organize a party?
They look for stars.
I thought you'd get this. They plan it.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Thought you might, especially being a junior astronomer. I thought you would.
Speaking of astronomy, I've got another one just to follow on that one.
Yeah, go
to yours.
Yeah,
what kind of music do planets like?
Rock music.
Nope. Neptunes.
Neptune.
As in the planet Neptune.
Yes, no, I get that, but
What type tunes? Terrible, I know.
Yeah, it's shocking. It should have really got it, but anyway. Where does the spy go to the toilet?
No idea.
Gents. That's disgraceful.
Agents.
Like
right.
agents.
Agents.
Yeah, it's
agents.
terrible. It's shocking.
How do you tell if a vampire is sick?
Don't know.
By how much he's coughing.
I like it. That's good. Very good. Very good. Oh, what did the pirate say? Hold on. I've got to get this right. No. Hold on. Let me just 2 seconds here. Just let me backtrack in my head. Oh, yes. What did the pirate do when he went to the disco?
No idea.
He shook his booty.
Nice one. What do you call a cow with 2 legs?
Don't know.
Lean beef. Sorry, vegetarians.
Shocking. Where do you learn to skate?
At a skate park?
Boarding school.
What do you call fake spaghetti?
Oh, go on.
An impasta.
That's absolutely disgraceful. Which animal is best at basketball?
No, wouldn't have a clue.
A scorpion.
Of course. How do you stop a bull from charging?
Make sure you look at the invoice.
Nope. Cancel its credit card.
I knew it was somewhere around there. After Star Wars, what's Darth Vader's favorite movie?
No, wouldn't have a clue.
Vader's of the Lost Ark.
Why you being a dickhead fool? Stop being a
Darth.
dickhead.
Did you know that, speaking of Darth Vader, did you know that James Earl Jones is retiring from playing the voice of Darth?
I did.
And it's now, I think they've recorded his voice and they'll be using AI from now on to play the rest of any movies that ever come out.
Do you know, normally that would really annoy me, but the fact is, the way that he did "Look, I am your father," he sounded AI anyway, so it sort of doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I did hear that actually. I did hear that. Okay, so that's the end of the show, basically. Just having a bit of fun. Just having a bit of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
It was an amazing, and it was incredible having Mark on the show.
Mark,
yeah, absolutely
fantastic.
Brilliant. So good. So now in only a couple of weeks' time, I believe, not many at all.
Only 2 shows. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yes, we have Master Dan.
Which Dan are we talking about?
We are talking about Dan Illick from Put Down My Billboard fame.
The billboards. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of changed billboards last year. And what else has he done?
Oh, you name it. He's done it. He's
Irrational
been
Fear.
on the ABC. Yeah, Irrational Fear. In fact, I will promote the latest Irrational Fear. It's called the Dangerous Festival of Dangerous Ideas. It's got magnificent people on the panel. Lewis Hobber's on there with Kate McClimate and I think it's David McBride or someone. I think he's a whistleblower, etc.
Okay.
Really, really interesting. And also just pop another one in there. I know it's not who do yourself a favour, but it's just something that was on my mind. Stephen Fry. Someone just put me onto his latest podcast, which is called, I think it's called 7 Deadly Sins.
Oh, right. Okay. Be interesting.
But the one before that, they're both, I think they're both past, if you know what I mean. They're not quite current, but because of what they're about, they're current.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. The other one's all about inventions.
Right.
Yeah, it's called Great Leap Years. So look out for that one.
All right.
Really, really good. Pep is back on, Planet America is back on Monday nights on 9:30 with Chaz and Carl Barron.
Nice.
So it's all happening. It's heaps to do. Heaps
lots happening out in the world, and we're not sure what we're having on our show next week. I don't think we haven't planned that quite this week.
Not quite across it, but what I do know is that you and I will have interesting timing because DST. Yes.
Daylight savings.
It's where you get jealous again for half a year. I know.
I know.
So. But anyway.
It is what it is. It's the price we pay for moving up to this nice, stable, warm climate that is Queensland.
Yes, that is true. Very, very stable. Doesn't flood or anything.
No, not at all.
No.
Getting flashbacks.
Well, if you're getting flashbacks, maybe we need to get that banner happening down the bottom again. But anyway, so it's a good night for me. We'll see you next week. Look forward to it. As I say, a couple of weeks' time, definitely join us. Dan Illick is always awesome. If you can join us live, that's great. If you can't, you always pick it up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter.
Yep, exactly.
Go for it, Lindsay.
Otherwise, we'll see you next week, and adios, everyone.
Good night, people. Enjoy.
Ciao.